Okay, so if you're here, you've likely already seen the first video, so I'll make this quick. Thorben started the 1 year 1 world trend, but he only spent about 100 hours in the game. I'm doing 500 hours over the course of a year and 7 content mods. This month is going to go from the Eater of Worlds to Queen Bee. We can't go farther than the Queen Bee. If we do, we die or something. I don't know. Okay, intro done. Let's get into the recap of the Modded Terraria Experience Season 2. February is finally here, and what that means we have a whole new slew of bosses to fight. But first, however, we have to say goodbye to an old friend. It served us well, but the steel armor is going to be replaced, since we cannot get molten armor. We take our steel armor out on one last spin, as we go and gather all of the hellstone we're going to need. Due to its importance, it now has a spot next to our thorium armor in the relic hall. Did we get no 7 for our steel armor? We then destroy Crimson Heart and farm for Sneeze Tails while waiting for the army to spawn. Somehow, despite the abysmally low spawn rates, we manage to find a snail before the army shows up. Snail finally spawns, but it doesn't drop the thingamabob. It is a 100% chance. Hey, snail! 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 Yes! The worst part about that is that the purple dye we were going for doesn't even fit our armor set's color scheme. Chat, I'm mad at myself. I'm mad at myself because I really shouldn't have done that. Because we're not even going to use it. Blue ended up working way better. So we kind of just wasted a half hour. We then decided to summon in the Goblin Army ourselves because I got tired of waiting. This was by far the thing I was anticipating the most and wanted to summon it on day 1. It's literally no issue. We were way over prepared even back in January. And after we shred them, we find the Goblin Tinkerer while heading down to our next fight, the Brain of Cthulhu. Oh shit, found Goblin! Already? Oh my god, already? On the way to our arena, I kept telling myself, Brain isn't that hard, even in Eternity mode. How bad could this be? Right before getting pummeled into the ground by the Brain, I decided to fight it underground for once, as I tend not to do that, and the cramped space combined with the confused debuff led to a few unfortunate deaths. However, we had a trick up our sleeves, something to make this a whole lot easier and something I haven't yet talked about. Cactus Fruit. For 40 seconds you get immunity to any non-damaging vanilla debuffs. It's such a confusion. Like, it still wasn't a cakewalk as the Brain is doing a lot more damage than I remember it doing in Eternity, but we take it down just a few attempts later. Oh, we won. Wait a minute. Oh. Wait, we won that? If you're curious, this is why I haven't put infinite buffs on in Fargo Souls. I've abused Cactus Fruit on so many Eternity mode runs. On our way to the Eater of Worlds, Asphodine gives us 2 new weapons, the Takeonomicon and the Neo Dealmaker. The Neo Dealmaker is kind of just a standard gun that happens to be themed around Deltarune, but the Takeonomicon is much more interesting. The Takeonomicon allows us to summon Void Octopi to attack foes, and once they attack enough times, some tentacles will spawn out of portals to deal extra damage and inflict Shadow Flame. It also has Eldritch Blast. Like, literally just Eldritch Blast. It's fun, but we can sadly only use it once per minute. It also apparently scales with world progression, so while it doesn't do much damage now, we may be in for a treat later on. During that whole debacle, we also realized something really funny. We can fight the Aquatic Scourge. Like, technically right now, the summon item is craftable. We obviously aren't allowed to kill it due to our rules, but I wanted to give it an attempt. It actually went okay for about 10k health before the 100 plus damage attacks killed me. With that small distraction done with, it's Eater time! The Eater of Worlds, of course, wasn't that hard. The first time around we got corded and torn to shreds by the cursed flame orbs, but attempt 2 went way more in our favor thanks to the Takeonomicon and the third weapon we got, the Shock and Awe. Have you ever heard of a Trollger, by chance? They launch themselves into the air with a launcher and hit unsuspecting TF2 players with a shovel on the way down. This is just that. Like literally. It's an amazing movement tool, and thanks to the Shock and Awe, we secured ourselves another boss.
Bitch. Haha! GG.
Sadly, however, we've had to put away some weapons. All of our previous weapons have been outclassed now by these new weapons, and I wanted to immortalize them. So I expanded the blacksmiths to include 36 weapon racks, 3 for each month. We put our enchanted sword, Aegis driver, and trickspin 2-step on the wall and continue onwards. Using some very helpful Calamity recipes and access to the Tinkerer's Workshop, we make ourselves some Terra Spark boots before giving Thespian the active alchemy a try. I thought this was a fight we couldn't win, like it literally says you should save this for later on the summon item, but it's bugged or something, and half the time it commits self-deletion of self about halfway into the fight. We did eventually kill it legit, but it's a bit weird that it died so suddenly half the time. Is this intentional? I don't know. After killing Thespian, we get 3 new weapons from Asphodine. Yeah, we're getting showered in these essences, and it doesn't seem like it's stopping. The 3 are the Dragalian Found, a sword that builds up energy before activating a dragon transformation, the Devoted Havoc, a gun that shoots faster the longer you use it and can buff shurikens, grenades, and molotovs, and the Wave Dancer, a Terra Prisma-like summon weapon that can be manually controlled. All 3 of these weapons have now been added to our arsenal alongside the Shock and All, although we did replace the Taekwonomicon for the Taboo Wand, which drops from the Dark Mage. Speaking of the Dark Mage, yeah, we decided to do Old One's Army, and it was quite interesting. Our first attempt failed on Wave 5, but the second attempt went extremely smoothly. There's a certain spot we can put our ballistas that causes them to attack in a perfect line through the goblins, and as long as we put a few at the crystal for wyverns, we were golden. With that was how we got the Taboo Wand, which we can't actually use yet because we don't have the summon slots, and I don't want to bother getting potions right now, especially since the buff wouldn't be infinite. We do, however, get to use the ballistas. I'm a huge fan of the Old One's Army summons, as well as Dungeon Defenders as a whole, so I always love to use these sentries. We also got the War Table, and placed it near spawns so that we always have the Strategist buffed for 1 extra sentry. The rest of the stream was fairly slow paced all in all. We spent like 20 minutes mopping up Aether's Stronghold, as after multiple blood moons, boss fights, and the Old One's Army, it is caked in a thick layer of blood, before continuing the work in the castle. I decided to make our herbery and lab today, which are now combined into 1 room. Got some potted plants from the Jelly Priestess, got some lab stuff from the Calamity labs we found, and placed some planter boxes around the herbery. Right now, we only have 4 planter boxes available, but we'll replace some of our current planter boxes with new types as we get them. During this, however, we ran into the Eagle Crest Golem. I decided, why not, and went to fight it. However, it decided that I didn't really want to fight back and was stuck either in the floor or on a doorway for basically the whole fight. It was a free win, allowing us to snag some extra loot that we likely won't use due to already having too many weapons in our possession.
All right, we'll call it a draw.
We had one goal in mind for this stream. Build the castle. Since I wasn't feeling well and hadn't gotten any sleep in over 24 hours, I felt it was a good idea to have a more laid-back stream. Seeing as we only had one room done of our soon-to-be new base of operations, it felt logical to hard focus on it. But first, another graveyard. They have a small chance to appear every night after the 6th night and serves as a fun way to kick off the stream. We even got ourselves a Doot Horn!
Yo, trumpet! Fuck yeah!
After messing around with the trumpet like it's the first time we've heard of it, we get to work on the throne room. There is one small issue though. I suck at throne rooms. Like, I never know what to do. So I took to the internet just like I did for the castle design. I found this cool hell throne room design and decided to use its focal point as a base. 2 staircases leading to a middle staircase with a throne at the top. This snowballed into us having stained glass, then mannequins, then lighting, then banners, and then a small suite of tables on the sides of the throne room to end it all off, giving us a sort of advisor's banquet on each of my sides. I thought this looked amazing for my lack of skill with throne rooms and felt satisfied. A few hours into the stream, people started calling my stained glass windows the Swedish flag though, and that maybe changed it to something different. It's fine. The light-hearted bullying made the windows more unique. We then move on to the smallest room of the bunch, the storage room. We went off in search of a meteorite to kick it off and found one fairly easily. We harvest the entire thing and head back satisfied. We didn't need nearly this much, but it'll save us repeat trips later. Right now, all we need are locators. These allow us to set up remote storage accesses, which we set up alongside a new crafting grid inside the storage room. We even found out that remote accesses will connect any storage units attached to them to the main grid, which gives me a great idea. We also made a phase blade during this because Calamity makes it completely ignore defense. Unlike Calamity weapons, I have a soft spot for vanilla weapons and will still use it despite the fact it's kinda busted. The third room on our to-do list is the bedroom. As we've been sticking with a Skyware and marble theme, I decided to start off with a Skyware bed before placing down a fireplace and a Desert Scourge plushie. Over time, I'll likely replace said plushie with newer ones or ones I like more if I don't just clear the shelves for more of them, that is. We placed down some more essentials like a sofa and recliner before adding a window in the center of the room and some extra shelving for alcohol and books. They're my go-to when I don't know how to spice up a room. Unless they make less than 0 cents, they tend to fit just fine in any situation. After the conclusion of that smooth road, we ran into another one of my weak points. Bathrooms. I never have to make them in most playthroughs, and when I want to make one, I tend to just make some outhouses around whatever town I build. This castle, however, is a castle of dignity and class, so we must have a proper restroom. How do we get indoor plumbing before the mechanic? I don't know. Magic, I guess. Every bathroom, at the very least, simple start, a toilet. I want to upgrade my toilet throughout the game until eventually hitting the almighty orc toilet sometime in the last start of the playthrough. Someone in chat, Halska, said a few streams back to start with a diamond toilet, and I agreed. So that's how we're starting. We also decided to add a gold bathtub, and we'll be upgrading that as well, albeit less frequently. The only real upgrade it'll get is towards the end of the game, where it gets upgraded to an orc bathtub alongside its toilet cousin, albeit with a simpler recipe. It isn't the throne of the gods like the toilet, so it just uses the orc building blocks you get with the ore. After getting the place in order, we add a window near the sink and place a curtain behind the bathtub. We then place some extra shelving and place potions all over them alongside some alcohol. This quickly gets changed to just potions and some different nautical decor like seashells and starfish. The alcohol just wasn't selling the shampoo bottle vibe I hoped it would. With the bathroom done, we move on to another small room, the library. This was extremely easy as I've made tons of small libraries before. Just some bookshelves on the side, some shelving walls for books and paper, and a table with some chairs for reading. This turned out more or less how I envisioned it, though I may upgrade it to more late game furniture later on. The sacrilegious stuff looks really nice, and that's actually might be what I'm shooting for in the future. But that's like a long time coming. We're gonna move on. This was a weird off-script part. We then take some time to expand the top of the castle. We moved the Stellaglyph over here from Aether Stronghold and built a small artificial campsite next to it. We then proceeded to take an embarrassingly long amount of time to fill the towers with different crates and other storable items. The last two rooms we designed were the dining room and kitchen. Both were simple, and we've already made a tavern display to the boot. We already knew more or less exactly what we wanted and where we wanted it, and in the end we came up with a nice set of culinary cubicles for all our dining needs. A long day's work completed, we took some time to admire the work we got done and slept the harvestmen away while speculating our ideas for the armory, lounge, entryways, and guard posts. Stream 3, just like Stream 2, was focused around one specific goal. Yesterday's was the castle, and today's was storage. You see, that plan yesterday was me wanting to take our underground crimson and turn it into a massive storage vault, filled with more storage than we'll ever need. I think if we max it out, it's somewhere around 700,000 storage. There is, however, the issue of the perforators, which we need the arena for. Or maybe we don't. You see, even though they enrage above ground, our underground crimson is too compact for eternity mode perforators, who sprouts legs and uses them to scuttle to the surface almost immediately. As such, I doubt we'd even be able to fight them underground at all, and we'll have to stomach fighting them in their arranged form underground. Though, according to Thorben's Discord, they barely have any difference at all. With that in mind, I decided to tear down our Crimson Arena and map out the room for our storage unit. A while later, this part of the process was complete, and it came time to fill it with storage. There was one problem, however. I woefully underestimated the size of our storage area. This area has enough storage for roughly 1,090 storage units, and I didn't realize that until I made 1,000 storage units at once to finish off what we had left and barely had enough. I'd used the miner to buy all the silver and iron required, but I decided that I wasn't going to use the miner for any of the metals needed for their upgrades. I'm gonna use them for the gems because gems are much more scarce and very annoying, but stuff like the Crimtane, the Hellstone, etc. I'm gonna get myself. There are 6 upgrades to each storage unit. Crimtane/Demonite, Hellstone, Hollowed, Blue Chlorophyte, which is Chlorophyte, Spectre, Shroomite, and Beetle Shells, Luminite, and Terra. As of right now, we can only get up to the Hellstone tier, but even then, that leaves our work cut out for us. Especially seeing as there's no way to mass produce Hellstone until March, where we can buy it from the miner if we really get annoyed. I shut the thought of multiple hours of Hellstone mining out of my mind before turning to the Crimtane we need. There's a few ways to mass produce Crimtane, and the most difficulty to reward efficient method would be killing Eyes of Cthulhu. That, however, would take forever to do one by one, so I devised a better plan. Overloaders. Fargo's mutant mod adds these items called Overloaders, which are bought from the mutant for roughly 30 gold a pop. Combine it with a boss summon to get an overloaded summon, which summons 10 at once. It will also use any other overloaded summons in that stack at the same time, leading up to 1,000 bosses at once. Though for lag reasons, it only spawns 20 at a time, and more will spawn as you kill them. They only drop treasure bags with a trophy every 10 kills and an energizer, which is a material used to make post-Moonlord Eternity Mode weapons, being dropped every 100. That's all we need, however, is we just need the Crimtane from the bags and we can sell basically everything else. The fight started off way more difficult than I anticipated. The eyes did more damage than I thought they would and would juggle me in second phase alongside their servants. After a few attempts, each only getting around 8 to 9 bosses killed, I decided to add some buffs to my arsenal. With the main one, Fortitude, being a massive contributor to our victories. It negates all knockback for its duration, allowing me to keep myself from getting juggled during the fight. We took out eye after eye after eye, using the money we get to buy more eye spawners. I honestly was just trying to see how many I could get before dying. If you're curious, the highest was 214. We then crafted the remains of over 300 eyes together to get as much Crimtane as we could. only to place them all down and realize we still hadn't got enough. I wanted to do some more, but alas we didn't have much time left and I didn't want to use the sundial anymore after we started to get the hang of the energizers. So we spent some time upgrading the castle a little. Earlier in the stream, we had finally built the armory and lounge areas, and I decided to add a few extra touches to the outside. We add some benches and a counter to each entryway, and some small balconies with bells next to the guard posts, which could be a way to alert the castle of attack, if I wasn't the only person who lived here. Regardless, with those finishing touches out of the way, we ended off the stream as well as our first week in February. Alright, so due to the fact that week 1 is already 7 pages in my script, I'm going to be a bit quicker for the rest of the month. Granted, if the streams go the way this one went, there won't be a ton to talk about anyway. Today was all about the ocean, since I wanted to start off the week with a queen jellyfish kill. I was excited to see what Thorium Boss's rework did to her, but to be honest, I think the original is just a better fight. I don't find both fights the most interesting, but I feel that I have to pay more attention in the original fight to clear out the extra jellyfish. She went that extremely easily, even in the upgraded version, and then we went into the aquatic depths. I wanted to make sure we didn't need to come back here until hard mode, so I explored everything. I looted every chest, mined every ore, and made sure to clear out every part of the biome. We left after doing so and decided to check out the abyss on the other side of the world. There wasn't much here, but both of these biomes have introduced us to new building blocks and furniture sets. My favorite of the bunch has got to be the marine stuff from Thorium, and I wanted to build our ocean pylon using it. I wasn't able to finish the entire thing, but I got the main part of the pylon down, which has a salon for the stylist, with the diver man living in the bedroom above because they don't really know where to put him, and a 2-story fishing shack for the angler and fisherman. I hope to build some extra buildings off on the sides for the Sea King and Pirate in the future, as well as decorate the currently barren pier, but for about 2 hours of work, I'm pretty proud of it. Today was our first time multi-streaming. These streams are now on Twitch as well, which is awesome. Gotta be honest though, we didn't actually do a whole ton this stream. Significantly less work to show for today, but we did still do some stuff. Today was all about getting our second forest town completed. We named it Metatown due to the Metaton statue in the middle of town. Fun fact, these are all actually statues of Daedric princes, all 5 of them. I am totally being truthful and not lying. We then made a small castle next to it for King Slime, and I hope to, when April hits, make a replica of this castle but made of pink gel and pearl wood and in the hollow instead of the slime/wood forested one. Next up, the pet store Tub Hub. This is probably the build I'm the least happy with, but I managed to get something passable now for now. Might completely rearrange the furniture in the future, but for now we're leaving it as is. Our next build is the Rusted Flask, one of the 2 alchemy shops in town. It's built in the rough shape of a flask, with potions and paper littered everywhere and an herbery underneath. Fitting for someone as ragged as the helpful NPC's alchemist, gonna be honest. I'll eventually build a much nicer one nearby for the brewer if I don't just build it somewhere else. Then, after taking some time to explore the Brimstone Crag a little, added in one last building, the Mechanical Manor. It'll be to house the Mech Trio and the Eye Cthulhu. It's fairly barren now, but that's because most of the rooms won't be filled until we get the respective mech boss in May. The bottom floor on the left will be a kitchen for the Destroyer, floor 2 will be a library and lounge for Retinizer and Spasmatisms respectively, and the top floor is for Skeletron Prime, as he's the latest of them in boss checklist. I've already done the Eye Cthulhu's house, as you can see. So today wasn't super eventful quantity-wise, but as usual that's balanced out by how long each task was. We started off by killing the hive mind, which I found to be kind of unfair. It felt like there were a bunch of invisible projectiles, and despite them clearly wanting you to fight it underground, you just do not get enough space. In Phase 2, it starts flying around with a bunch of minions to shield it as it attacks you correctly and with multiple rain clouds. Very annoying, but after moving to the surface, it wasn't a big issue. Afterwards, we proceed to take out the seed of it, okay, it's dead. Yeah, I bullied it because Modded Redemption isn't exactly balanced around having 6 other content mods. Finally, we killed the perforators. I have no idea how this fight works, and all I really went into it with was don't touch the ichor blobs. Not a bad fight per se, but it was very confusing. And is now the second boss to fall into that category. I love you, Eternity Crapulon. Then, after chat told me the area light is mineable now, we took to the Sky Islands to make ourselves the Biome Blade, the bundle of horseshoe balloons, and some tools. I want to cut back on the amount of armor we use, and I really don't like Calamity's take on armor, so we decided to skip the set in favor of keeping our molten armor until we get a very special set in March. I tend to keep a fairly similar opinion around the weapons, but I like the premise of the Biome Blade, so I traded the perfect dark eye made after Hive Mind for it. After the trio was defeated, we decided to just finish off Viscount and Queen Bee to finish the month. Viscount was an absolute cakewalk. Even with the buff stats and different moveset from Thorian bosses reworked, we were basically able to just face tank him and out DPS his attacks. Queen Bee also proved to be fairly simple as well. Asphodine gave us a weapon for our recent victories afterwards. The Scoffnung! It's our first dedicated melee weapon forever! Thank you, Asphodine! Keep it up! It stabs forward almost like a short sword, and when used, will summon yet another Terra Prisma clone. Since gotten a supply of summoning potions, we now have 2 sentries, our bat, which takes 2 minion slots, and 2 Terra Prisma swords. We're living the good life, it seems. Anyway, the sword summon deals half our defense and damage, and if you haven't noticed, we're nearing 60 defense. So this thing's got some meat on its bones. Every time it gets a crit as well, we get the Bloodstained Balloon buff, which increases our damage by 10%. Afterwards, I decided that the time has come for our first Hall of Fame weapon to be displayed. It served us well, but now that we have a more dedicated melee option, I don't feel that the Devoted Havoc is necessary. It's the first of the February lineup and will stay that way until the Shotgunaut gets replaced, assuming it can stick around through March. The second half of the stream was simple. Purification. Now that the evil bosses are gone, we don't need them anymore until hard mode, so I got to work. Tunnel after 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 tunnel, I clear out the entirety of the Crimson and move on to the Corruption. I thought this wouldn't be as bad as the Crimson, but the second Corruption biome went very far down and was way larger than it looked. So we sadly will have to finish purifying later. But hey, at least it's just that last biome, right? So, I was supposed to be working on Metatown today, but didn't really do much of that because of another project, the Mega Arena! You see, I was starting to grow a dislike for spending so much time cleaning up the entirety of Aether Stronghold after each fight. There's literally a 20-minute video of it on the channel. So I went to build a new arena. It also happens to be larger than all the other arenas. It's 253 blocks long, the length of the old arena plus 1 tile so that I could center the Eternia Crystal stand, and roughly 240 blocks tall, as it's 4 platforms at every 60 blocks. This quite literally took almost the entire 4 hours. We spent the first 30 minutes to start decorating what we could of the mechanical manor, and we'll just add the mechanical boss's flair when we get there. As we had to first find a good spot to put it, map out the size and clear out the living wood trees, patch up the tunnels underneath the arena so that it'll look good, place the platforms, map out where I wanted the background supports to be, start building those, add small arenas for campfires, statues, heart lanterns, and heart statues, etc. I was going to continue to work on purifying the world, but since I woefully underestimated the time this took, that's pushed back until this is done first. There really isn't much to talk about today other than my own horrible failings. To start, we finished the arena! It's got a ton of space, as well as heart statues, heart lanterns, bass statues, and campfires. I'll eventually be adding star statues later, as Overhaul makes projectile swords use mana in order to use their projectile. We then proceeded to spend way too much time fighting the last few blocks to purify. It started off fairly relaxing as we joked about the couple of blocks I missed here and there before becoming a mad search for the last couple ones. I eventually went to Tiadet for what will be the only time this playthrough. I wasn't going to use it, but after like 5 hours it felt earned.
Oh my fucking god, I'm stupid! I forgot about this! Oh my god, I'm so stupid! I forgot about the fucking Calamity thing! I forgot about the goddamn Calamity Island! I forgot about this! I told myself the other day, don't forget about the Calamity Island! And I did! I forgot about it!
I told myself, do not forget this, on Monday when I was purifying the corruption. I thought this was all I was missing, but no! There were 2 random extra episodes out of my binoculars view in the middle of the sulfurous sea. Needless to say, that was very interesting and a weird end to the week. But at least our world is purified 100% in preparation for April. I apparently have an aversion to building towns because we got distracted instead of building Metatown again. We did add a tower with a shaft underneath it that leads to our massive storage unit, but that was all of the work we did. We then proceed to spend the rest of the time building a bridge. A very, very long bridge. One that spans across the entire world. I'm likely going to barely use this, and I started the project anyway. It's got a fairly simple pattern to it, but it looks very nice overall, even in its unfinished state. We haven't finished the bridge part yet, as well as the supports, not to mention we haven't even started the canopy on it. This could very well spill into March, and holy crap if it does, I'm going to metaphorically cry, because that means we have only one mostly finished city and an unfinished sky bridge going into March. Wow, it's already at the end of the month. This one went by even faster than the first, despite it being the same amount of time. From building to fighting, we made sure to get a whole lot done. As for today, we spent the entire stream on the bridge, adding supports to help it. We did the supports on the entire right side of our world, as well as finishing up the bridge on the left side, which will prepare us for adding supports in March. I also changed how it crosses over the Mega Arena. Instead of just making the railway go up a few blocks as it soars overhead, I decided to make an overpass about 30 blocks above the bridge and arena. It looks way better than the other method, and also helps us map out how high we want the bridge's canopy to eventually be. We were going to update the class mannequins today, but decided against it as not enough new armor sets were available yet. As the stream wound down, we ended off February after 239 days in just under 95 hours. I'm extremely surprised I've stuck with this for so long. I tend to have issues with committing to larger series, and any fans of the Vanity Lock will know that firsthand. But I've been enjoying the series. Even when we just sit around and talk for an entire stream, it's fun because it lets me hang out with you guys and chat while enjoying our progress. I didn't expect to make this many builds as of February, but I also kind of expect to have more, ironically, in a way. We should have probably finished Metatown by now and have started working on other housing, but no matter. We've got an entire year. What's the rush? If you guys did enjoy, please make sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're brand new to the channel. If you're not brand new, join my memberships. You all know the drill. Early videos, video updates, live streams, and I'll even buy one small game of your choosing. A few months ago, we bought Fight Crab for Toyu, my first ever Aetherian Castellan. Also, make sure to follow me on Twitch. We started multi-streaming during this series, and it's been a blast. And worst case scenario, hey, support me over there as well by just tuning in. You can always tune in on both if you really care. Just that much about YouTube specifically. Yeah, we're not going to be doing any Modded Terraria Experience streams this next week because I wanted to make sure we only had 4 streams each week. Should I have just set it up in a different way? Probably, but this worked out fine regardless. We will be starting the week after in March. Make sure you tune in my other streams though. This is not a request, this is a demand. I'm your queen. Okay, goodbye!